In April, rafts of yellow-billed loons float in the Yellow Sea of China, feasting on fish, fuel for their migration to their breeding grounds in Alaska. The yellow-billed loon is considered one of the 10 rarest breeding birds of the mainland U.S. The species is of international concern, with the total global population estimated at up to 31,000 birds. Approximately 5,000 yellow-billed loons depend on access to the large freshwater lakes in Alaska's Arctic for nesting, foraging, and chick rearing every summer. Unfortunately, coastal national parks in Arctic Alaska are losing lakes rapidly, a change accelerated by warming temperatures.
Here in Bering land bridge, lakes have been forming and draining and drying for thousands of years. And we can see old lake basins scattered throughout the entire park. And so what we're trying to understand is this happening at a more rapid rate than it used to happen historically?
In 2018 and 19, several large lakes used by yellow-billed loons drained rapidly in Alaska's Bering Land Bridge National Preserve. Lake surface area dropped abruptly, and 3 square miles of water drained in just a single summer. Left behind were barren mudflats devoid of loons, fish, invertebrates, and vegetation. Much of the Arctic sits on top of a layer of continuously frozen soil called permafrost. As the ground warms, ice in the permafrost thaws, and lake shores subside or sink. In areas where there is more ice in the permafrost, and in years with heavy snowfall, high water levels in the spring can create overflow and new pathways for water to run out of the lake. The newly formed channels cause all the water to drain and result in the disappearance of lakes and loss of habitat. Ideal lake habitats are limited. Loons are highly philopatric, meaning they return to the same nesting lakes every year. If their lakes drain, they have to search for new nesting sites. But because of intense competition among loons, most nesting habitat is already occupied. More than a decade of loon population survey data, combined with satellite imagery in Bering Land Bridge, indicate remarkable lake changes are underway. If lake loss continues, this will have large impacts on the yellow-billed loon's ability to survive and reproduce. Lake loss in the Arctic is sadly not the only threat facing loons.
There's likely going to be more impacts from humans just with an Arctic that's opening, more ship traffic, more oil and gas development.
The loss of sea ice is opening up the Arctic in a way that's not really been open before. When you have more ships that are coming through an area, by the very nature of the fact that there are more ships, you're increasing the likelihood that there could be a shipping incident.
What we know from oil spills is that once it goes into an area of marshland or an estuaries, it really is there to stay. Think about that in the Arctic, an environment that changes much more slowly. We're going to have that oil leaching into the fish resources and everything else that is culturally important in that area. So that's the one thing that we really have to strive not to let happen.
And yellow-billed loons are top predators in the ecosystem. They are obligate piscivores, which means they, as adults, have to eat fish to survive. Anything that becomes contaminant that may fall into freshwater bodies on nesting lakes that may then affect the fish can get into and bioaccumulate in the birds themselves.
Novel shifts in the marine food web of the Arctic could also have impacts on loon survival.
Probably be some species that are going to be moving into the lagoons that we've never seen before, just with species moving northward. In the lagoons we studied last summer, I think we found over 30 species that were new to a particular lagoon.
Small population size coupled with low genetic diversity leave the loons less equipped to adapt to rapid changes within their ecosystem. Will the yellow-billed loons be able to cope with these widespread challenges?